Hi everyone, this is Sunette, continuing with how to make you work with your life as much as your life works with you. Obviously, we do have our everyday life challenges and stressors and difficulties. Even with walking this particular process and getting through it, don't think that you're going to come out the other side and your life is going to be all sound of music-y and heaven, where we're going to be jumping and floating and skipping and singing. Life is difficult. It is hard. It is challenging. It is stressful. And it is not easy. This is everyday life basics for the majority of people on this earth. But, there's a great difference between everyday life moments that happens, which is, running around after kids and time and things being delayed and financial stress and then things breaking and needing fixing, and that's more money and pressure and family issues and friendship stuff and, your own things. But these are things that happen in everyday life moments, okay? So when they come at you as you walk in your day, that's normal. But what is not is when you are also in those everyday life little moments facing everyday life challenges and you are in a massive turmoil of emotion within yourself about kind of, to me, how it felt like I became was this hunchback of Notre Dame mixed with this really evil witch and this dark golem creature eventually inside myself. This is absolute darkness, and it's like every day felt like I was carrying these massive rocks on my shoulders, and I'm just trying to fix and change and get through these things that seem so simple to change, but it's just not happening. And I'm just seeing failure and mistakes and not good enough, and everything's going wrong all over, and it's day after day, week after week, and then disappointing other people and not fulfilling expectations. You get into like this real panicked state, and it affects your eating, your sleeping, your health. That's where the problem comes in. That is not how life is supposed to be, within considering everything else that we need to deal with and face. So, and that is another reference that you can use for yourself, that you need to dig deeper. You need to look at things deeper inside yourself. So for me, as I said, there was a point with my present relationship that was happening. And it can even be the most simplest of things, where I just, I kept on, a thought or an experience came up inside of me for a couple of times. And it bothered me, but I kept on just, pushing it aside or justifying it or validating it, but it kept on coming and kept on coming. And until eventually it started becoming an irritation, an annoyance, and I could even see how it affected my relationship with, my partner. It became more resistant with touch, with sexual expression, with things like that. And that's another reference where you can use in your experience with your relationship, where something changes inside of you, where you're resisting intimacy, touch, sex, which was never there before. Okay, wait, there's a big problem and issue happening here. That's where I took all the steps back. And, it was going on for so long that you don't realize as well with these type of things that you can be suppressing, and then actions in your everyday life become normal and acceptable. So when I finally unleashed the burden and just opened everything up, it was a very significant moment, not only for me, but for my partner and for the both of us as well. And was actually also, again, a point of communication that I can work on, that I have been working on in my process in general, which is communicating, and how much I've taken communication for granted as well. But then the past relationship as well. We sometimes think just because someone who was significant in your past is not in your life anymore, that they can't affect you. but they can inside yourself if you haven't resolved a point. So with my relationship with that past person, there was this dynamic between the two of us of superiority and inferiority, and felt that just because that individual is not in my life anymore, that dynamic's not there anymore. I'm not inferior anymore. I can stand up and be my own independent self. Lo and behold, that individual that still come up in my life every now and then, and because of that, there's a moment where they would come up inside of me, and where would I find myself? Back in that state of inferiority. And that was like the dimension that I wanted to get away from, to, yes, also give myself space to find that independence within me, but at the same time, we need to also know when to reconfront that individual ourselves with that individual, for example. And this is something I'll continue with in the next video in relation to how to sometimes know when is it that you can change something while you're in a relationship, and when is it that sometimes you do need to walk away for a moment, and not sever the relationship, but keep a distance to assist and support yourself. That is a struggle that I have found within my life has been very common as well. When do you know when you can change something while in a relationship? And you're more looking at friendship, not so much partnership, intimacy relationships, but friendship relationships. Must you know when to walk away? When can you change something in real time while you're in the relationship? What's that reference that you can use? So therefore, the dynamic of superiority and inferiority was still there, which was showing me that I was creating and recreating that again with a new relationship that had come into my world. So you can also have a look at any new or recent relationships that's come into your life that you haven't been working with, because you're thinking that you've run away from or gotten away from a certain dynamic, like inferiority and superiority. Meanwhile, you're busy recreating it, just with a different person that's come into your life. And lo and behold, that happened to me as well. So I have this new relationship that I'm busy changing in real time. My past relationship, I'm busy working through inside myself. And my present relationship, I'm already now in the process of changing. So it's not to say that when you figure out these relationship points that you've been suppressing, that it's going to change in one day. No. I mean, it's going to take as long as it's going to take. It depends on yourself, your application, the nature of the relationships that's going on, the amount of times and frequency you see them, what comes up and what you need to work through while you see them. But what is fascinating is with doing that, now I'm focusing on these 3 relationships. What's not coming up and being an issue or a problem anymore is everything else that I thought was. But all of that is also in the process of settling down more. It's like everything in myself and my life was unsettled. That's the better word. It felt like everything was up in the air, and where people have those magic powers and they can take everything and zoom it up and shake it and throw it around. It's like, it felt like that was happening to me in my life. And nothing was settled in order. I don't know where I was in relation to everything, where everything was in relation to me, I bet. And I mean, what's going to be difficult and challenging is to walk through the manifested consequence of all of that. Manifested consequence meaning, firstly, there's going to be consequences in relationships with people because of what you went through, with yourself, with time, with projects and things. But I mean, rather know that you're in the process of healing. And in the process of healing, yes, you're going to deal with consequence, but you're on your way to a more long-term sustainable solution where this will hopefully, depends on so many factors in your future, but will hopefully be one of the last times that you work through this so excessively and extensively. So rather do it properly and effectively and take your time. Okay. Yes, I'll, again, in time to come, once much is more settled. I'm saying now, where I would say everything is at with me now is that everything was up in the air and it's busy like settling down now, but it's not yet completely settled. You know, once I get that woof moment where everything drops, like when you're listening to some of those tunes where the beat drops, those moments. So when it's there, I'll give everyone an update again. But for now, join me in this process of settling the unsettled. Thank you very much. We'll see you in videos to come.